Hey guys, it's me, Jem, and welcome to episode 14 of Gem at the Movies, a segment here on my YouTube channel where we take a look at some movies or TV series, either recent or old but gold. And today we're going to take a look at another very interesting movie from the 90s. It's a survival thriller that asks the question, what would you do if you were lost in the woods and a very hungry bear wants to eat you? Today we're going to talk about the 1997 film The Edge, starring Anthony Hopkins, Alec Baldwin, Elle Macpherson, and Harold Perrineau. The film was released in 1997 and it is directed by Lee Tamahori, known for films like James Bond, Die Another Day, Triple X, The State of the Union, and Along Came a Spider. The epic musical score of this movie is composed by Jerry Goldsmith, known for films like Rambo, Congo, Star Trek Nemesis, and Air Force One. One of my favorite compositions from Jerry Goldsmith is a piece called The Game from Rambo 3. Now, let's talk about the cast. Alec Baldwin, a wonderful actor. He's known for movies like The Shadow, Beetlejuice, Pearl Harbor. And in this movie, he plays Bob, a photographer who's looking for the perfect subject, but he ends up in disaster. Sir Anthony Hopkins, of course, legendary actor, most well known for film roles like the Hannibal trilogy, Thor, Meet Joe Black, and The Mask of Zorro. So in this movie, he plays Charles, an intelligent billionaire vacationing with his wife in the Alaskan wilderness. And of course, Elle Macpherson, a supermodel in the 90s who also dabbed in acting. She's well known for film appearances for Batman and Robin, Jane Eyre, and A Mirror Has Two Faces. And in this movie, she plays Charles' wife, Mickey. The acting in this movie is top notch. Sir Anthony Hopkins and Alec Baldwin deliver their lines very well, and it has a powerful message about self confidence and the belief that you can do what you think. This film also features beautiful cinematography of the Canadian wilderness, the mountains, the forests, and the way the story progresses with the cinematography makes it look really, really terrifying. There have been a lot of movies about sharks and crocodiles, but there are not many movies where a bear is the main villain. So the movie opens with a scene of a charter plane flying through the mountains, and in that plane is Charles, his wife Mickey, um, Bob, and Bob's assistant Steven. So they arrive at this remote Alaskan lodge, which is owned by a man named Styles. And Styles reminds them that it is not advisable to leave food around because a lot of bears are lurking in the area. So Charles likes to read his little nature survival book called Lost in the Wild because he wants to be prepared for anything that might happen. So come nighttime, Mickey is asking Charles to if he could get her a sandwich. So Charles says, "Okay, I'll get you a sandwich," and then he goes down. He starts fixing up the sandwich, and while he's doing that, he is hearing creaking noises coming from the door, and he remembered what Styles said about the bears. So he starts approaching the door carefully, and nervously, and he quickly locks it shut. So while he's quietly walking, a figure of a bear suddenly appears, and it terrifies Charles. And then he suddenly realizes that it was just Bob wearing the bear skin, and everything was a surprise for Charles' birthday. Charles receives a pocket watch from Mickey and a hunting knife from Bob. So the next morning, Bob is doing his photo shoot with Mickey, and Charles is watching from a distance. And Charles is starting to notice that Bob is getting just a little too close to Mickey, and it starts bothering him. So Bob notices a picture of a Native American hunter on the wall, and he learns that it was Styles who took that picture. And he says that, um, you know, that should be my subject. And he asks Styles where the man could be located. So Bob wants to look for the hunter and take his picture. And he invites Charles to come with him. So Charles accepts and comes along for the ride. But when Bob arrives at the house, the hunter is not there. So while they are flying through the mountains, suddenly a flock of Canadian geese comes into a collision with them and instantly kills the pilot. The plane crashes into the water and starts to sink. Luckily, Charles, Bob, and Steven escape. But now they are lost in the woods and they are very, very far from the lodge. And they have no way to communicate. They will have to wait for a plane or a helicopter to come by and rescue them. So Bob and Steven are starting to panic, and Charles is telling them about dying of shame, which is asking yourself, what did I do wrong? How did I get into this situation? So meanwhile, they're trying to figure out how they're going to be seen if any airplane or helicopter comes by. So Charles tells Bob and Steven that they have to find which way is south, and they have to find a river, and then the river will lead them home. But they have no way of determining which way is north. So Charles tries to make a compass out of a leaf and a paper clip. So the three of them begin their journey south, and then suddenly a bear appears and starts to chase them. So as the chase ends up in a river, Steven and Bob manage to make it across, and then Charles falls while he was crossing, and he loses his bag of signal flares. But he also manages to make it across. So the three of them end up on top of a mountain, and they spend the night there. And the next day, they keep walking, and they realize that they've been going around in circles because they arrived at the place exactly where they started. So Stephen approaches Charles and asks him, well, what are we going to eat? So Charles gives him the hunting knife, and he tells him to make a spear. Things get bad for Stephen as he cuts himself in the leg. So again, they spend the night, but Stephen wasn't so lucky as he was the first one to get eaten by the bear. The bear must have smelled the blood from Stephen's leg. That's how he found them, which left only Charles and Bob together. Charles manages to trap a squirrel for food. Charles and Bob hear the sound of a helicopter flying by, but they couldn't seem to get its attention, so the helicopter just flies away without even noticing them. So Charles and Bob are left in the wilderness, and Charles is trying to ask Bob repeatedly if he knows how to make a fire out of ice. Bob goes crazy and he starts blaming Charles for being a wealthy person. So Bob eventually calms down. So Charles is trying to catch fish with a makeshift line and hook. Um, but eventually the bear finds him and starts to chase him until he gets cornered by the bear. Bob and Charles are starting to get frustrated and they realize that there's only one thing that they have to do. They have to kill the bear. And this is one of the most powerful scenes of the movie because Charles is trying to get Bob to be with him in the idea of killing the bear. Because Bob is getting skeptical because he thinks that the bear is always one step ahead of them all the time. The bear doesn't want them to sleep, the bear doesn't want them to eat, and he feels like they can't do anything about it. So Charles tries to get Bob pumped by saying, I'm gonna kill the bear, I'm gonna kill the bear, I'm gonna kill the bear repeatedly.
Oh, I'm gonna kill the bear.
I'm gonna kill the bear.
Say it again!
I'm gonna kill the bear.
And again! I'm gonna kill the bear!
And after that, what one man can do, another man can do. What one man can do, another man can do, repeatedly. Until Bob gets the courage to actually fight the bear with Charles. And this is one of my favorite Anthony Hopkins moments in this movie. When Bob is trying to ask him, how are we gonna lure him? How are we gonna lure the bear? And then Anthony Hopkins' delivery when he says,
Blood!
So eventually the bear does find them, and the battle leads to the river, where Bob and Charles are trying their best to stab the bear, to kill the bear. So Charles waits for the right moment, and then when the bear stands up, Charles plants the spear, and when the bear tries to go down on him, it gets stabbed by its own weight, eventually killing the bear. So Bob and Charles are successful in conquering the bear. They take its skin and they feast on its meat. So after killing the bear, they continue on with their journey and they find an old cabin. So in this cabin there was whiskey, there was a first aid kit, and there was a rifle and bullets. So while Bob is out, Charles finds out that Mickey had been cheating on him with Bob. So Charles confronts Bob, and Bob is threatening to shoot him with the rifle, but instead he falls into a trap and hurts his leg. So Bob is asking Charles to get him out of the trap. Uh, Instead of wanting to shoot Bob, compassion takes over and he empties all the bullets out of the rifle and he helps Bob out of the trap. So Bob's leg is hurt very badly and he passes out. And Charles uses the canoe to paddle both him and Bob out on the river. At last, a helicopter passes them and Charles creates a smoke signal to get their attention. And eventually they are rescued and returned to the lodge. Charles was being crowded by reporters asking him what happened to Bob. And then Charles just replied, he saved my life. So, my final thoughts about this movie. It's a very inspirational movie about conquering your fear, and the bear represents a big obstacle in your life that you have to pass. When you hear Anthony Hopkins saying, "I'm gonna kill the bear, I'm gonna kill the bear," it's like, I'm gonna be successful. I'm gonna conquer this. I'm gonna come out on top in the end. Because Bob and Charles were not willing to die without a fight. It's really a shame that at the end of the movie, Bob had to die just as he and Charles were getting pretty close. And Charles had a good heart enough to forgive Bob for all his mistakes. Also, it's a good thing that this film was made in a time where filmmakers had creative freedom. Because if this film was released today, I'm sure that a lot of animal rights activists would have something to say about it. Like, oh, why did they have to kill the bear? The bear didn't know any better. You're gonna hear things like this if this film would have been released today. Alright, so that is it, guys, for episode 14 of my movie review here on Gem at the Movies. If you like this video, please consider subscribing and hit the notification bell. And I'll see you on the next video, guys. Bye!